I think that the fact that starving people is a weapon of war in Syria is an example of how people need the right to food. It is a basic human right, and the fact that it is then removed in order to punish people and to make them suffer as a result of governmental decisions is part of the problem that the international community has to deal with. It is the responsibility of a head of state to take care of his or her people, and feeding them is a very basic aspect. And so the right to food is something that we all need to look at as part of our international responsibilities.
When we speak about food losses, when we speak about food security, it's very much related to security and peace. Because what we have seen in many countries 10 decades ago is that there is no food, you have conflicts and you have wars. So I have to combine not only looking to the conflicts and wars, but especially also how can we secure food for so many people worldwide.
Food often is grown in places where people aren't. People are moving increasingly to cities. In doing so, they move from being producers of food to consumers of food, and that is also putting enormous pressure on food systems, on food security overall. There's enormous evidence of our ability to increase food production through the increased use of technology. We're able to improve enormously our storage of food, our processing of food, and our distribution of food to make sure that it does get to those who need it.
Cities play an important role in the global food system, especially, of course, because they're consumption spaces. But increasingly, they can also play a role in production. That goes for the global north, for the city of The Hague, for example, but that also goes for southern cities. As ActionAid, we work with women in slums to set up their own vegetable garden. This can be at every level, and those things are important to be able to achieve the right to food. I do think it is particularly important to not forget that still a lot of the hungry live in the countryside. They do live in rural areas, for example, in Africa, and there needs to be a severe increase in investment in those people, also to be able to supply the cities that are growing. So it will be important to identify what rural-urban linkages are there, what's needed, and to build policies at both national and local level.
Well, I think an absolutely prerequisite is that the government and the city, and maybe those in the city, like institutions here, would be of the same view. It doesn't help if an institution says you can come here and do some mediation if the government turns a blind eye. Of course, the city has always been very supportive, and I would like to see them supportive in this chapter as well. And if you say, well, how? I think we should just design or dedicate a sort of Camp David house. We should have a place where people would come. You would need to set up an infrastructure, and that infrastructure would have to be such that it is secluded from the rest of the world so that nobody can come and look in, and that parties will feel at ease to have their conversations. So I think we should just buy a hotel and start working.